Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. It's Tori, and today we are doing a book haul video. No apologies. I have been so proud of how well I've been doing with my book buying this year, and this last couple of months there were a lot of books that I really wanted to have in my library, books that I wanted to read, and here we are. Despite the fact that this is a really big stack, I have become so much more intentional about the books that I'm choosing. They're often authors that I have already read, or authors that I am way more sure I'm going to love, or stories that really intrigue me as opposed to like, oh, I heard about it at some point, decided to pick it up on a whim. Without further ado, let's get into it. The first one I picked up was actually on a Barnes & Noble sale that was happening a couple months ago that we walked in. My husband and I were on a date, and we each decided we were going to pick out one book, and I chose The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Katherine Arden. This story is about a young woman who is a nurse during the Great War, and I believe there are some abilities to see ghosts or something of that nature, or her brother passes as a soldier, and there's something with some ghost / magical realism with that. I have not read anything by Katherine Arden yet, and I am really excited to check this out. I had read like the first 10 pages of it while we were sitting at Barnes & Noble and absolutely loved it, and I'm really mad that I haven't had time to pick it back up and finish yet, but I'm really excited to keep reading this, and I really like this edition. I think it's really pretty. So that was my book number one. The next one is a historical book that I honestly should have already read. I have heard nothing but incredible reviews of this book. My mom read it a long time ago and said it's incredible, and that is Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee by D. Brown, an Indian history of the American West. This takes place largely in the second half of the 19th century and follows historical accounts from multiple tribes, and I have heard that this is an incredibly heartbreaking read, so I'm definitely going to be choosing my time to read it very carefully. But this is a book that I have been wanting to read for a while. I've had it in multiple carts on multiple websites for a long time, and I just figured it was time to grab myself a copy of it so that when the mood strikes me, I'm ready to pick it up. Next up is The Blue Sword by Robin McKinley. This book is recommended very highly by my friend Leah, and it is a book that I picked up for a specific project that Leah and also my friend Casey are currently working on. More on that later. I have never read anything by Robin McKinley, but I am slowly continuing my journey through reading a lot of these more classic, pre-2000s fantasy female authors, and I have heard that this is a fantastic read. I can't remember if this is part of a series. I think it is. But I could be wrong about that. And I'm excited to go in pretty blind. I have been feeling a little bit more classic fantasy vibes lately, so I'm looking forward to checking this one out. Next up, I picked up a couple of editions of a book I already own because I want to have a collection of different editions of this book, and that is The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, and I got to pick up this 1960s mass market paperback this is the first book that was printed with the movie tie-in. I'm also a massive fan of the movie. I think it's one of the most incredible book-to-movie adaptations that's ever been done, and I love it so much. So this is one of the few movie tie-in books that I actually wanted to own because I love it, and so that was the first edition of Outsiders that I purchased, and the other one is one that I have been wanting to grab forever. The other one, that was the first edition. So that was the first extra edition of The Outsiders that I grabbed. The second one is one that I have been wanting to own for at least 2 or 3 years since I saw it, potentially even more, and that is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of The Outsiders 50th Anniversary exclusive collection. There are notes from the actors from the movie back here. There are articles and a list of every edition of this book that has been printed up to this point. There's articles from when S.E. Hinton first published it. There's letters, again, from the cast. It's so cool. There's pictures that S.E. Hinton took from the movie set in here. I'm so excited to finally own this. I love it so much. I love that the front cover is literally a black leather jacket. Love it so much. So yeah, those were 2 collector items that I was really excited to get this last couple of months, and who knows how big of a collection of the Outsiders editions I will end up having at some point, but with that being one of, if not, it's in my top 3 favorite books of all time. I enjoy having multiple editions of those. Next up is The Keeper's Six by Kate Elliot. I still have not read anything by Kate Elliot, but I really like that this is a smaller standalone kind of novella by her, and it looked really interesting. I'm trying to remember now. I had looked it up a long time ago with the synopsis, and I remember this. The reason I picked this one up is because it is about a mother in a fantasy world who goes on a journey to save her son from a dragon, I think. If it's from a dragon, yes. He's kidnapped by a dragon, and this mother goes to save her son. And you guys know that I love fantasy warrior mothers, and I cannot wait to read this. I think it's going to be great. And I love getting to taste test an author's work with a smaller or shorter book like this. So we'll see how Kate Elliot and I get along. All right, this one is pretty far outside my normal wheelhouse to some degree, but I'd heard some really good reviews of it and I'm intrigued, and I have been looking for a couple of books to kind of push myself outside my comfort zone, to try something completely different if I need a break from fantasy or whatever else I'm reading. So I picked up The Power of the Dog by Don Winslow. This book takes place with multiple POVs that are all in some way tied into the Mexican Drug Federation, and it's a massive novel exploration of the war on drugs through an intimate character lens. That just sounds really interesting to me. I have heard some good reviews of it from other people I know that have read it. I have no idea what I'm getting into other than what I've already told you. But sometimes I look for something on my shelves that really is very different than everything else, and I want something that really kind of resets my brain with a completely different genre, completely different subject matter, and I think that this one is going to be a really intriguing read. Next up was another book outlet pick, and that is Deep Delta Justice by Matthew Van Meter. This book is a investigative journalist historical account, essentially, of a court case that changed American politics forever in the Deep South during the Civil Rights Movement, and it is the story of a young black man and the lawyer who was considered radical enough at the time to defend him, and I just think that this is going to be an absolutely incredible read. I read the synopsis, I was immediately hooked, and I'm really looking forward to learning more about this case specifically, and just, I think it's going to be a really, really interesting read. Next up, you guys, this is a romance of sorts. And I can't believe that I actually spent some time walking into the romance sections in Barnes & Noble trying to find this book, but they always had the cover that I didn't like as much. So I finally found it on Book Outlet in the hardcover edition, and I just bought it that way because I like this version better, I like the cover better. And that is Homeseeking by Karissa Chen. There are 2 young Chinese immigrants who fall in love in Los Angeles and somehow get separated over a long period of time, and then I think come back into each other's lives when they're much older. And the synopsis, every time I've read it, I was like, I don't know if I want to trust a romance. I really don't know if I want to trust this. I don't know if I want to try it. This one keeps bringing me back. That synopsis keeps bringing me back. It does overlap into a lot of the kind of historical fiction side of things that I'm interested in, and it just sounds really, really beautiful and heartbreaking and sweet, which is exactly what I'm hoping for, while also learning more about the historical era that it's set in and the people who lived during it. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I am really excited to check it out and see how it is, and I really hope it lives up to the synopsis. Next up, I bought a middle grade book called A Single Shard by Linda Sue Park. This is not the first Linda Sue Park book that I have bought. I have not read one of hers yet, but I also have My Name Was Kyoko by her. And this one is about a young man named Tree Ear, it's a middle grade book, who breaks a beautiful ceramic pot and has to work to repay the man who made it. And the main character discovers that he really wants to make beautiful ceramic pots at some point. And I'm sure there's some kind of moral lesson involved with this, but I've heard some really, really positive reviews of this one, and I'm hoping that it's something that I will love enough that I can read with my kids. And I'm trying to see when this was published at first. 2001. So this has been out for a while. I think this is maybe a newer cover, but I really, really loved the cover. And yeah, I thought that would be a fun one to try. All right, guys, I'm really excited about this one. Fishbone, Cinderella by Elizabeth Lim. Now, I am very new to Elizabeth Lim as an author, but what I know about this is that it is her first adult fantasy / historical fiction novel, and it is heavily based in her family's history in the life of her grandmother, who always wanted to write a story about her life, I think, but never was able to, and so Elizabeth Lim took that on to write it for her. And this has a element of fantasy, which is what Elizabeth Lim is known for, and also that historical fiction. And I believe there's a generational POV split where we have one character who's more in the kind of modern day and one who's back in a historical setting. Well, actually not that far apart, to 1940s Hong Kong and 1960s San Francisco. I have heard nothing but amazing things about this book. My friend Leah read it and was absolutely obsessed with it. And this edition, just look at these end papers, first of all. I got this from a bookstore, I want to say in Washington, or no, New York, called You and Me Books. And they were doing a print run of signed Fishbone Cinderella copies. So I was able to get one signed by Elizabeth Lim, which is really, really cool. And they sent us like a foil bookmark. There's a art postcard, a bookmark. It's really, really sweet. Highly recommend. They wrapped it beautifully. It was a great experience ordering from them, so I wanted to give them a shout out here because what a beautiful, beautiful book. So this is a non-English book, but I have read it, just not in this particular language. So a couple of years ago, I really loved a book called The Red Palace by June Hur, which is essentially a murder mystery set in Joseon-era Korea. And I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And I discovered on eBay that I could order the Korean edition of The Red Palace. And look at this, it's foil lettering. The artwork on this cover is absolutely stunning. And this is one of those things where at some point I will be able, I hope, to read this book in its original language. I would love to be able to do that. That makes me really excited. I can read a very small amount of Korean already, just enough to kind of sound things out and have a general idea of some of the smaller words. Obviously, I am nowhere near this at this point, but it was one of those things where I love the edition. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and I would really like at some point to kind of set this as a goal for myself to get to a point in my Korean study where I can actually read this in the original language. That would be super, super cool, and I would love to be able to do that. Next up, I got this hardcover edition of Guards by Terry Pratchett. You guys know at this point how obsessed I am with the City Watch, and this is the illustrated edition with Paul Kidby's Discworld art in here, and there's so many art pieces in here, you guys. There's so many. I was really excited to get this. I have behind me right here the Discworld Emporium hardcover series of the City Watch. I also have the new paperback editions, but I really wanted to have the illustrated hardcover of Guards. So I've been kind of sitting on that one for a while, and I saw it on Book Outlet, and I was like, they had one copy, and I got it. Next up is a memoir, which is something I have been missing my memoirs lately. I think I'm going to read one at some point pretty soon because I love reading memoirs, and it's been a little while since I picked one up. And this one is Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott, and this is a memoir that kind of features just her life story and also advice on writing and the realities of being a writer, being a creative spirit. And again, this is another recommendation from my friend Leah. You're going to see a pattern in this book haul. A lot of these are because of Leah, so my wallet and Leah aren't really friends right now, but she has great recommendations. I'll put her Instagram handle down in the box below so you guys can check her out. But she read this and said it was phenomenal, and especially the aspects of the book that focus on being a creative and the very humorous and real way that Lamott addresses that. I need that in my life right now, honestly. And I was so excited when she told me about it, and that was an instant buy for me because that just sounded like something that would really be an excellent fit for where my brain's at right now as I'm working through my next novel and all of that. So very excited to check this out. Next up, I picked up a book from a little free library, and yes, I did trade in something else for it. But I got a signed copy of Elinor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. I don't know anything about this book other than it's contemporary fiction about a young woman who is obviously not fine from the title. And I saw it in there and I was like, I remember like 4 or 5 years ago, I almost bought myself a copy of this just because it was outside my wheelhouse and I was looking for something different. And the synopsis kind of caught my eye and I never did. And so when I saw it in the little free library and I had a couple books that I could trade in my car, I was like, you know what? I think this is a sign and I think we're going to grab it. And we'll see. I want to read it. I want to just see if it's any good. And I've heard some good things about it. So we'll see. I think there's a romance in here. So again, we'll see. I might not jive with it, but I figure if I don't, I'll just pop it back in a little free library box in my hometown. All right, I had to pick up some more C.S. Friedman because I loved the Cold Fire trilogy so much, so much that I instantly started looking for my next C.S. Friedman read. And when I talked to her in our interview, one of the ones that she mentioned was her science fiction, This Alien Shore. Now, this is a little bit of a chunk. I actually don't know that much about this book. What she had told me is this is a space colonization. I don't think it's a first contact. I'm pretty sure it's not. Like, we've been in space, we've been colonizing planets for a while, and there's some genetic things going on. Like, humanity is, genetic makeup is falling apart or something of that nature. But I don't actually know that much more about it, which I'm okay with because I do want to go into it as blind as possible, especially after loving Cold Fire so much and not knowing a ton about that when I went into it. But this is definitely leaning more sci-fi than Cold Fire, which I'm completely fine with because I'm also interested in reading more sci-fi. And I know that even though there is a more technology science fiction element to this, C.S. Friedman is such a good character writer that I'm not worried about it just being a technology dump, basically, which is what I have a hard time with in a lot of harder sci-fi novels. So I'm excited to see what she's going to do with something that leans more heavily into sci-fi, and hopefully I enjoy it as much as Cold Fire. All right, this omnibus that I'm about to hold up, when I mentioned in one of my last videos about underrated fantasy books that people should read, I mentioned a book called The Forgotten Beasts of Eld by Patricia McKillip, and I was inundated with comments and messages about Patricia McKillip's Riddle Maker of Head series. And this omnibus, which is beautiful and old, and I love it, has a book plate. I love this, you guys. I love when I get books that were in someone else's library and clearly were special to somebody. Mary Lynn Bursey, I think, is the name, and there's a quote from Don Quixote on her book plate. I just think that's so cool. And this has all 3 books in the Riddle Master or the Riddle of Stars trilogy. I know absolutely zip about this trilogy. I bought it simply because so many people were like, okay, but have you read The Riddle Master by Patricia McKillip? I was like, I haven't, but apparently I need to. So now I have the entire trilogy in omnibus form, which is actually really nice because then it feels like you're getting through the books a lot faster because it's like, here's book 1, you know? And I love this edition of it so much, and thank you so much to Mary Lynn, whoever she was or is, for letting me be a future owner of her beautiful book. Another author that I have been enjoying recently that I wanted to try another book from was T. Kingfisher, so I grabbed Sword Heart. I believe that at the heart of this story is a sentient sword, and I believe that the series follows the sword, who gets picked up by different people That's what I'm gathering from what I understand. And I think there's a romance involved here. There's a young woman who draws the sword, uses the sword, etc., and meets... I'm not sure if the sword manifests into, like, a physical being. I'm not entirely sure. We'll see. But I thought, you know what? Hey, let's try another T. Kingfisher. This one's a little bit longer than the other ones I've read of hers. But I've heard some pretty good reviews of it. We'll see if I like it. I do really like this cover a lot. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Love the colors a lot. But yeah, T. Kingfisher is a very intriguing author for me right now, so I wanna explore more of her work. All right, this book I got by mistake. Not that I got the book by mistake, but this specific edition by mistake. I got Under Heaven by Guy Gavriel Kay, which I've been meaning to get for a while. I wanted to try one more Guy Gavriel Kay after Lions of Al-Rassan because there were a lot of things about Lions that I really, really loved. Certain content things, not so much. I had heard a lot of people recommend this for me because it is an Asian-inspired work of his. And he's often described as being historical fiction with a one-quarter turn to the fantastic, and I think that's a great way of describing his work. It feels like you're reading a historical account, but there's that flavor of magic in the world. There's that secondary world that's very heavily based on something in our own history, very character-driven, beautiful prose. Now, you guys know I've been getting rid of all my mass market paperbacks. So I bought this. I was pretty sure a trade paperback. Lo and behold, it is not a trade paperback. It is this cornerstone brick of a mass market paperback, which the only reason that I am actually considering keeping it at this point is because, look at that. Not many mass market paperbacks are that flexible. So we're going to try it. If I get a little ways in and my hands aren't doing well with it, then I will probably replace it with a larger copy. But we'll see. Then I got another Carol Berg book. Carol Berg wrote Song of the Beast, which I really enjoyed when I read last year or in 2024. I can't remember which year it was. And I picked up Son of Avenar, The Bridge of Darnath, book 1. This is a series of hers, and there's multiple POVs. There's a noblewoman, there's a violent fugitive who cannot speak and cannot remember his past, and a world of magic that has turned against both of them. That's about all I know. I read through the synopsis, and that's about the farther I went into it, because again, because I already enjoy the author, I try to go into books like this pretty blind. This is a choice as a cover. It's not my favorite. But I'm really excited to read more Carol Berg. This will be the first Carol Berg I've read since reading Song of the Beast. And I think there's another one called Transformation of hers that I also want to read in the very near future. But more Carol Berg on my shelf. Very excited to get that checked out. Next up, I picked up another classic with Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. Now, this is probably my least favorite cover of this book. And the book that they showed on Book Outlet, like the cover that they had on the listing, was not this cover. It's fine. I'm fine. Like, it's not a big deal. But I did want to read a couple more Virginia Woolf. I have To the Lighthouse on my shelf, but this one I picked up. Originally, I wasn't that interested in it and hadn't really hooked me when I read the synopsis, but my friend Leah said it's one of her favorite classics. And I was like, okay, well, I want to try something from Virginia Woolf that I think I have a really good chance of immersing in and really enjoying the best. So I'm going to give this one a shot too and see whether this one or To the Lighthouse is a better fit for me. Based on what I've heard, Mrs. Dalloway will probably be the winner, but I guess we won't know until I try them. It was definitely time for me to add to my Terry Pratchett paperback collection, which is now, I don't know how much of it you can see, pretty prolific at this point. It goes all the way down that shelf for the most part. And I added The Amazing Maurice and His Educated Rodents. This one I think is basically Terry Pratchett's take on the Pied Piper meets Puss in Boots, where the main character Maurice is a cat and he has all of these rats that follow and do his bidding and all of this stuff. And that just sounds like fun. I think it's going to be a good time. I have no idea what Terry Pratchett shenanigans are going to ensue in this book. But it should be pretty fun. It is a standalone, and if I like it well enough, I'm hoping to be able to hand it to my kiddos. Next up is a book that I actually almost bought when it came out at least 3 years ago. I can't remember exactly when this came out. 2024? I feel like it was not that long ago, 2 years ago. And that is Dark Frontier by Matthew Harvey. I've read some Matthew Harvey before. I've interviewed him on my channel. Super great guy. And this is a dark Western story. And I think it's a historical fiction, but it is a London veteran of the British Army who goes out to the American West, which I think is going to be a really interesting twist on the typical American frontier story. And it's Matthew Harvey, so I think it's going to be a great time. And I saw it on Book Outlet while I was perusing, and I was like, look, I almost bought this 2 years ago when it came out. I want to try it. So I grabbed it. The next one was a pure cover buy, you guys. And after, in fairness, I did also read the synopsis, okay? But I do not have cover buys very often. This one immediately grabbed my attention. I don't know what it was about it, but I was like, I need to read that. And that was The Last Lifeboat by Hazel Gaynor. And I just think this cover is so cool. I love it. Because this is set in the 1940s, this is kind of like, you know, at the beginning of Narnia when the Pevensey children are being like shipped away to safety. It's kind of that same idea at the beginning where there's a boatload of children that gets torpedoed and the survivors are trying to survive in a lifeboat. And I think the woman who's in the lifeboat is maybe a teacher. I can't remember if she's a mother or a teacher. Anyways, this is why I don't give you guys synopses of books I haven't read. But essentially there are two women, one who is at home terrified because she doesn't know where her children are, and a woman who is trying to keep those children alive. And I just think that that sounds incredible and gripping, and I'm really, really excited to read this. So I was thrilled when the cover matched my interest in the synopsis. It was a perfect blend. Now, I had read This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me this last month, and I'm not going to share too much about my thoughts on that because I haven't done my wrap-up yet, but I did decide, after reading a synopsis of another Ilona Andrews book, to try it. I think this is a standalone from everything I can tell, and that is The Inheritance. I'm just waiting for Leah to come down in the comments or my Discord DMs and be like, oh, you're going to hate that. Don't tell me. I don't want to know. I just want to try it. It sounds really interesting. There's kind of a dystopian / elemental magic combination going on here, I think. And the main character is a mother, which, again, common pattern, is one of the reasons why I'm interested in reading it. She's a mom of 2. She also has a German Shepherd named Bear as her animal companion, and she has to go into a dimensional gate. That's all I need to know. I think that sounds really fascinating, and I am very excited to read this and try another Ilona Andrews. Next up, I did a thing that I usually try not to do, but I feel pretty solid about this one, I hope. And that is that I bought 2 through 4 of a series that I haven't read book 1 on yet, which I know is dangerous, but guys, we have to be optimistic. I'm really excited about this series. And that is the Memoirs of Lady Trent. I bought The Tropic of Serpents, book 2, Voyage of the Basilisk, book 3, and Into the Labyrinth of Drakes, which is book 4. There is a book 5, but I haven't ordered that one yet because I figured I should stop here until I've read book 1 and probably book 2 and 3. But I absolutely love these covers, you guys. I love these covers so much, and I am so hopeful that I love this series. I'm going to be reading the first book this month, and I'm just crossing my fingers so hard that I love this series because it's very unique. It's something that isn't your typical run-of-the-mill fantasy. You have a woman who's a scientist, and she's researching dragons and going out on these kind of field excursions to research dragons, and I just feel like it's going to be a great series. And I bought these because I am committed. I am committed to my belief that this is going to be a great series. All right, the last one before my 2 special editions that I'm going to show you guys was Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan. I've read the Rhyuria Revelations and really enjoyed them, and I've been hearing some chatter about this book and this series that rekindled my interest in reading it. I had the mass market paperback a while ago, and I got rid of it because I'm cleaning out my mass market paperbacks, and I had always intended to replace it with a hardcover or trade paperback. And I happened to find a signed version of the hardcover on Pango Books, which was super cool. I'm excited about this. I think this is a big scope, epic fantasy going back all the way to ancient times, and I think the series takes place over maybe centuries. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I'm excited about this. I do love a good ancient fantasy. I love books that set up a world history over a long period of time. And that's definitely what I'm anticipating getting out of this series, but I wanted to just get the first book and try it. They're not super long, as you can see, and I really like the covers. I think they're really cool. I don't know if you can see that with the glare. But yeah, I saw it and I was like, you know what? It's time to replace that mass market paperback. Now, I have 2 Kickstarter fulfillments that I recently received, and one of them was an impulse buy. It was recommended by one of my Discord patrons because the author was a friend of theirs, and what a beautiful edition, you guys. I am so impressed. And I love seeing authors get to play with a vision for a special edition of their book. It makes me so happy. I'm going to pause here really quickly because I have some really exciting news for you guys that I cannot wait to tell you, and this is the perfect time to segue very briefly into letting you know that a special edition of my dark epic fantasy book, The Bloodstones, is now up and followable on the pre-launch page. If you go down in the description box below, you will find a link to the pre-launch page. If you hit notify me on launch on the pre-launch page, that is a huge help because it boosts the campaign and it gets it out to a wider audience. It will be launching officially on October 2nd. I have put my heart and soul into this special edition. I love it so much. You guys, the artwork, it's insane. It is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I cannot wait to hold it in my hand. Thank you so much for your consideration, and now we'll get back to the video. So, speaking of beautiful special editions, I have R.E. Holdings' The Northern Rosard series omnibus. Look at this stunning book. It was beautiful on the Kickstarter campaign pictures. I was not expecting this. I was not expecting it to look this stunning in person. Look at the sprayed edges. There's a beautiful ribbon bookmark. I know nothing about this series or the author. I think that this is a romance with, like, a fantasy with a little bit of romance, a little bit of horror, and look, even that is foil. Look at that. It's so beautiful. Oh, gorgeous. I can't with how beautiful that dust jacket is. And then look at that. That's the naked hardcover. Absolutely stunning. Inside, you have this gorgeous map that even has like a climate and standard timeline on the top and the sunset phases. I got a beautiful foil bookmark. It's obviously signed by the author, but it's beautiful. I want to see if I can get to one of the... There's like these cool graphic novel... It's so unique. I think it is so cool. I was really excited when I got it because I knew it was going to be beautiful. But I can't figure out if this is like a dystopian set in the future kind of fantasy sci-fi kind of thing. And when I tell you I know nothing about this, I mean it. But as soon as I saw it, I was even more excited to give it a try and read it. There's a really cool, the end papers on the back are like a workshop with some information about like different potions and stuff. It just looks super cool. So like shout out to R.E. Holding because well done. This is an absolutely beautiful edition. And I can't remember if there's 3 books in here. There's an index. I think there's 3 books. Yeah, it's a trilogy. But was really excited to get this. I don't know when I'm going to get to actually reading it, but it's beautiful. So very excited that I decided to jump on board that Kickstarter, and I hope that I love what's inside the book as much as I love the design of the special edition. Next and finally, I got another Kickstarter in, which is from my very good friend Andrew D. Meredith, and I need to take some of these things out of the bags. But I had gotten the omnibus edition of his Needle and Leaf trilogy, which is now complete, and it was an omnibus Kickstarter with some beautiful pins, which is what I am taking out of the bags right now. He designed all of these incredible pins of characters and creatures, I don't know how well you can see these, in the story. There's Joven and Leaf, are kind of two main characters. There's this beautiful Needle and Leaf logo kind of design, and then these three, like I've been showing you, these three beautiful stained glass windows. That's the orchard from book 2. These pins are so unique, you guys. They're so beautiful. He does such a good job with the pin design. And I haven't even unwrapped. I have been, oh, I missed one. Hold on. There's another pin. I forgot there were 5 of them. Another one of these beautiful stained glass pins. You can see like that. It's another character from the books. And I will admit, when I first started getting into book collecting and special editions, I didn't really get the pins. I didn't really get it. I was like, okay, cool, pins are cool. I get it now. I don't know why, but pins are really freaking cool. I don't know why they're cool, but they're cool. Anyways, so we are unwrapping the Needle and Leaf omnibus for the first time. Okay, hold on. So we have a map wrapped around the book, so you get I actually love that it's a larger map too. That's really cool. And then we have, I love this shadow box design so much. It's so cool. I love it so much. It's got this beautiful shadow box design with the list of all 3 books. It's got beautiful sprayed edges on the outside, and of course on the inside, on the naked hardcover, this stunning foil. Look at that. Stunning foil, signed by the author. Number 4 out of 100. I feel very special. Let's see if I can get to, we've got, again, the map on the inside. It has the section breaks with all 3 books. So this omnibus contains the entire trilogy. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I love seeing the creativity of people and their special editions. I know I just said that, but it is a joy, and especially now since I've been designing my own Kickstarter, it is such a cool thing, you guys. It is so cool to see an author's vision come to life with a book that they've put their heart and soul into, and now they get to make like the most beautiful version of it they can think of. It's so cool. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for this book haul. I have been just loving collecting books this last couple of months. I've still been keeping well within my intended budget, way better than last year, and I feel like a lot of the books that I've been getting are just so meaningful and interesting. A couple of them obviously were kind of out of left field, but that's okay. If you've read anything that I showed you in this video, please let me know what your experience was down in the comments below, and check out that link to my Kickstarter. Honestly, following the Kickstarter, and if you feel like sharing, is a huge, huge, huge help. Thank you so much to everyone for your love and support of my books so far. If you're like, Tori, oh my gosh, I didn't know you wrote books, feel free to go down to the link in the description box, toritekkin.com, on my website, where you can learn more about my books. I've been an author for 20 years now. I've been self-publishing for 20 years, and I'm in now kind of my 2nd chapter of my writing career, and it has been such a gift, and I'm so excited that I get to share it with you guys. So I hope that you guys are all having a fantastic week. I hope that you are reading some 5-star reads, and I'll see you in the next video.